Have you ever been mid-flight, just staring out at the clouds from 30,000 feet, and suddenly you notice something that looks like a massive mistake? Today, we're exploring a brilliant, hidden piece of aviation engineering right under your nose. We're going to look at the hidden genius of airplane windows and why something that looks completely wrong is actually, well, saving your life. So, picture this. Right there at the bottom of your window pane, there's this tiny, perfectly round hole just sitting in the glass. Now, for a lot of people, the immediate reaction is sheer, sudden panic. I mean, you're in a metal tube miles above the Earth, and you see what looks like a literal puncture in the only thing separating you from the freezing, thin atmosphere outside. Your first thought might understandably be, oh no, the window is defective, or even worse, that the glass is about to blow out entirely. But hey, I'm here to tell you that you can actually just sit back and relax. That little opening, it isn't a flaw at all. It's not a crack, it's definitely not a manufacturing defect, and your window is absolutely not about to shatter. In fact, actually, scratch that. If that hole wasn't there, you'd have a real reason to worry. This little feature is completely intentional. It's a perfect example of how things that look broken to the untrained eye are actually working exactly as designed. So, why on earth would engineers want a hole in a pressurized plane? Well, it all comes down to a feature formerly known as a bleed hole. You see, when a plane climbs up to a cruising altitude, the atmospheric pressure outside drops dramatically. But inside the cabin, the air has to be artificially pressurized so, we can actually breathe comfortably. This creates a massive, massive pressure differential, and the bleed hole is designed specifically to manage this invisible, immense force. To really get a grasp on this, let's use an analogy from our sources that I find just absolutely fascinating. They say it's much like the calculated design of a McFlurry spoon. Now, okay, stay with me here. If you've ever really looked at a McDonald's McFlurry spoon, it looks kind of weird, right? It's super thick, it has this hollow square tube at the top, and it makes absolutely no sense if you try to use it as a straw. But that strange design is shaped that way specifically so it can click right into the ice cream mixing machine. The exact same logic goes for your airplane window. Just like that spoon, your window might look a bit weird or somehow flawed, but every single detail is meticulously calculated for a very specific job. There are literally no accidents in modern aviation design. Every rivet, every curve, and yes, every tiny little hole is the result of thousands of hours of testing. The bleed hole is basically a tiny, unassuming hero performing this massive task right next to your shoulder. To really understand how it works, we kind of have to look at the window's architecture. Airplane windows aren't just a single sheet of glass. They're actually made of multiple distinct panes, an inner pane, a middle pane, and an outer pane. So you have the passenger cabin where you're sitting, which is pressurized. Then you have that outer pane facing the freezing super low pressure atmosphere. And right between the middle and outer panes, there is a gap of trapped air. So how does the bleed hole solve this crazy dynamic? Well, that tiny hole acts as a balancing valve. Air from the pressurized cabin slowly moves through the bleed hole, which is located right there in the middle pane. By letting just a tiny bit of air move through, it perfectly regulates the pressure of the air trapped in that gap. Because of this really clever equalization, the thick outer pane takes the entire brunt of the atmospheric force outside, while the inner pane, the one you actually touch and lean your head against, stays completely safe and unstressed. The absolutely crucial part of this whole setup is that this tiny hole is exactly what prevents the glass from shattering under all that intense stress. It's constantly regulating the pressure, and by managing that air, it keeps the entire window structure highly, highly stable. That seemingly terrifying little hole ensures the window stays perfectly intact, so you can just keep enjoying those incredible views without a care in the world. It is honestly amazing how much thought goes into the everyday things we usually just overlook. If you enjoyed learning about this hidden bit of aviation engineering, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the everyday things we usually miss. So, have you ever noticed this hole on a flight before? And did it freak you out? Let me know down in the comments. And I'll leave you with this. If a tiny hole is the secret to a plane window's strength, what other invisible safety nets are surrounding you right now, completely unnoticed? Thanks for learning with me in today's explainer, and I'll see you in the next one.